Hello, I'm Dr. Jason Roop, and it's an absolute honor to be able to speak with you today. What I'd like to share with you is a message about drug prevention, but it's a message unlike any other that you've ever heard. You see, this message is not a message of intimidation or fear. It's not a scare tactic. Instead, this is a message of inspiration and empowerment. It's a truthful message, and it's a way in which you can understand yourself and these incredible qualities, this incredible value and incredible strength that you have inside you right now. And it can open up a whole new world of understanding yourself and each other, and it opens up a world of not only potential and possibilities, but present capabilities as well. The value that you have inside will be the resource that you need and can use throughout all of life to resist the temptation of drugs. You see, I spent 17 years in active addiction. I've been arrested 18 times. I've overdosed 4 times. I've been raided by the police twice. And ultimately, in 2012, I wound up in a homeless shelter. And then it was in 2013 that I entered treatment, and I've been in recovery ever since. And for me, all throughout school, from elementary, middle, and high school, I refrained from ever using drugs because all of those scare tactics worked for me while I was in school. It was terrifying, the messages that we seen, and no doubt there is truthfulness to that. Drugs can be very, very dangerous. We know that all too well. But for me, when I left high school, I kind of left behind all of those programs and social supports that helped me or insulated me from experimenting or dabbling with drugs. And like I said, when I moved away, I then began to experiment, and there was no defense internally that could withstand the allure of fitting in, of belonging, of finally being comfortable in my own skin. And it took me nearly 2 decades to realize that what I'd been looking for that entire time could only be found inside me. And the same holds true for you. You see, I believe in you. And I believe in this student body, in this generation. I do believe that you and your generation will be the ones to put an end to this epidemic of drug addiction. As I went into recovery and into treatment in 2013, and the years after that, I began to learn who I really was and began to self-reflect and to become acquainted or familiar with some of these qualities that I'd always carried with me, but they'd just been hijacked by drugs and other illicit substances. And so you may be thinking that you don't stand a chance to avoid falling into addiction. Some of you may have that thought. Either you've got family that are actively using, friends that are using, and it's almost overwhelming, the risk associated with those temptations. And it's overwhelming just the challenges that are facing you. You may feel like it's impossible to say no to drugs. But I want to share with you a different perspective, actually a more truthful perspective. None of those things are true. You do stand a very good chance of never getting high or never falling into addiction for the remainder of your life. Why? Because you are learning about yourself. You will learn about yourself, and you benefit from the previous generation's attempts and failures at helping end this epidemic. But things are going to change with you. You see, the whole purpose of the trait-based model of recovery, or at least the foundation of the trait-based model recovery, which I created beginning in 2019 and finally was able to offer to the world in 2023, less really than a year ago, through the trait-based model of recovery, reveals that people with substance use disorder share highly effective traits with great leaders. I carried out a 3-year study that included multiple participants, and what we learned was that people in addiction have tremendous leadership qualities and traits. They've just been subverted or hijacked by drugs and illicit substances. And what was discovered, those 10 traits, right, which include tenacity, determination, resiliency, empathy, appreciation, gratitude, as well as self-awareness, emotional intelligence, authenticity, and creativity, all of those traits were held by all the participants in that study, and also all of those participants had those traits before they ever even got high for the first time. And what does this mean? Well, it means a lot. It means a lot for you. It means that you already have these traits inside. It means that you already have resiliency and empathy and tenacity. You belong to that demographic from which the study built upon. You, yes, you are a highly effective leader. And this may be odd sounding to you. It may seem like a foreign concept, but actually it's science. You have incredible qualities and traits within you that will shield you as you work with them and cultivate them. It will shield you against falling into the temptation of drug addiction. And here's why. When I experimented with drugs for the first time, I had developed resistance techniques or tools like just say no. But these were all external tools. What I did not have at the time was self-awareness. I didn't know who I was or what I was meant to do in this life and in this world. And actually, through my failure and through my mistakes, I have been able to highlight that deficiency that many of us have experienced growing up, and now that can become the benchmark or the foundation for building and cultivating resiliency within you. So, when you answer this question, who am I? You are taken into an area or a process of self-discovery which will illuminate for you these tremendous superpowers that you have inside. These characteristics, these traits, can be learned and optimized and developed and used in such a productive and positive fashion. In active addiction, I had those traits, but the addiction had caused those traits to manifest destructively. For example, research says that empathy is the #1 leadership trait. Empathy is the ability to connect well with other people on a very deep emotional and psychological level. Empathy is different from sympathy. Sympathy is just feeling sorry for others, but empathy is actually entering into their struggle and walking out with them on that journey. Now, people in active addiction have this trait, but we use it to objectify other people to get what we want. Or you could call it, instead of empathy, manipulation. You see, this understanding opens up a whole new world because all 10 of those traits also have shadow representations. But for you, if you've never experimented, never used drugs before, you may be thinking that this isn't relevant to you because you weren't in the study, you're not using drugs, so on and so forth. But actually, this is about you. This is about the greatness inside of you. The data suggests that a very significant portion of the student body in your school already possess these leadership traits, these qualities, which when we follow them, when we begin working with them, when we identify them and then learn how to optimize levels of resiliency, determination, tenacity within our own life, we are building our identity. We are enhancing and increasing our self-perception so that now the pressure or the temptation to resort to an external tool such as drugs to make us feel better suddenly loses its appeal, because we don't need anything external to identify who we are, to understand who we are. You see, what we're going to do through the trait-based model of prevention is start from strength. We're going to build upon those dynamic qualities and traits that you already possess, and that will become for you a guiding light throughout all of life. You're going to know who you are. You're going to feel accepted because you are accepted. You're not going to feel isolated or alone because you're not isolated or alone. You have greatness within you that is only going to be expounded upon, cultivated, enhanced, and developed to become some very powerful tools in your life. You see, because when we follow these traits, we are getting down to the true essence of who we are. And the true essence of who you are is something very beautiful, strong, resilient, dynamic, and transformative. You, yes, you, have the ability to change the narrative across the United States of America, across this nation and across this world about what our youth are doing today in regard to saying no to drugs. Because you don't begin there with an external decision. You begin in here. You start from strength. You begin by answering the question, who am I? And you are a highly effective leader. And so, I appreciate the opportunity to briefly share about the trait-based model of prevention, which will be rolled out this fall in multiple states across the nation. And this dynamic modality will no doubt begin to open our eyes to see the beauty within, the strength within, and the value within. Remember, you're never alone, and you're never without a resource. For me, when I graduated high school, I thought that I lost all my resources. But I hadn't. I just couldn't see it. And so now, my life's goal is to help you to see that resource within, that strength within, and then build upon that for a dynamic, powerful, and transformative life that will bring about healing, joy, peace, and optimism to others. I'm so thankful for the time given to share with you today. I appreciate your attention, and I hope that you have a great rest of the day, a great rest of the semester, and I hope to see you soon. And remember, every day and in every way, always, always, always start from strength. Thank you.